and go live. Go live. Here we go. We get people in the house already. You are now live streaming. Hello, and I think we're live, and hello, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way, everybody. And tonight we got another Native American myths and legends. By gosh, we're getting really up there. 17. Holy cow. We got a full playlist for sure.
Yeah, really.
And of course, as you all know, my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers.
Greetings, everybody. Hope you're staying warm and healthy.
Absolutely. Especially this time of year. Especially this time of year. And with us and joining us, we got a whole bunch of people coming in, and there'll be more. But Travis the Brick's in the house. Deborah Sloan, Elderberry. Hello, Elderberry. How you doing?
Very.
Susie Q is in the house. Nice to see you. That always rhymes. I just love that. Susie, did you have those problems when you were growing up? Everybody saying, Susie Q, nice to see you. Yeah, see, that rhymes. And we got Lucky Smith. And he says, the Milky Way Soul Tribe is prospering. I am prospering. We are all prospering together. Thank you, Milky Way Soul Tribe. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Poyel. And thank you, Lucky Smith. And I hope you are prospering too. Much favor to you. We got Chloe who stopped in. She's working. Just breathe and not explode. Much love to y'all, my beautiful people, she says. And there we go. There we go. Delaney Pearl Jones is in the house, and Jackie J and Witchy Moon. And hello, thank you all for joining me. I'm glad you all can make it, because it's going to be another fun-filled night tonight. We got all kinds of stuff on the docket, and from stories and stories I can't read. I tell you what, I was reading this book. This is quite the book, but they're dirty stories, and some of them I cannot read on the air, because it would be like porn. You know, that I realize the Indians did kind of porny stuff, like, I guess, too, you know, so it's not good. Either that or Wolverine was way more active than Coyote.
No. Coyote was always sneaking in somebody's teepee and trying to make a trade, you know. Hey, you know, come over here, and he would dress up and then try to pretend to be. Oh, Coyote was a bad
one. Well, I don't know. From some of the stuff I read there, the Wolverine was following in his footsteps for sure.
Yeah, well, that could very well be, but Coyote done some. There are a lot of stories I have not been able to read because they're a little risque.
Risque, yes, I totally agree. Oh shoot, that's what I was going to do too. So you got some good stories picked out tonight too?
Well, I hope so.
There we go.
I always keep my fingers crossed, you know.
Yeah.
We seem to make it every week, don't we?
Yes, we do. Tonight, I'm going to do a little bit of talking about, because we did the horses, we did the buffalo, and now we're going to do a little bit on the way they lived in the teepee, you know, in the tents, their houses, things like that, which the lodge, yes, very important stuff, because you can't just be out there running around and hunting buffalo and you know, gathering stuff. You got to have a house, you know. And there's Michelle Can-Am Free. Much love to you. Thank you for coming. That's our love girl, Michelle Can-Am Free. Thank you for coming. My gosh. And I'm sure, and even to this day, no matter who you are, you got to have some kind of a house, even if it's a cardboard box. But if you're in a cardboard box, you're probably not listening to us because you're in a cardboard box. And if you are, well, you got money to have a cell phone with internet. Anyway, you know, and I'm listening to the radio today. I'm listening to Tucker, you know, and this just blows my mind. And this is the God's honest truth. the government is going to give out crack pipes. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, government's buying thousands and thousands of crack pipes because, well, they want everybody to have a good crack pipe. You know, people, do we live in bizarro world or what?
We have to be. This it's gone beyond nonsense, you know.
Yeah, this is
you gotta laugh.
This is, I mean, I don't remember this world being this way. I mean, this wasn't my world. I just don't get it. You know,
this would be like back in Prohibition, buying everybody a shot glass.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like, hey, well, you can't buy alcohol, but here's a shot glass. You know.
Yeah. It's like when I was a kid. Oh, you know, fireworks are illegal, but and so, but you know, they're going to sell them on every street corner, you know, or something like that. Well, you can buy this, that, and the other, but you have to drive to Missouri to get the firecrackers and stuff. You know, you cross the line and you can buy them there, and then you can drive home and then shoot off all you want. It's like, what, you know, now there's, you know, they're still illegal, but they have fireworks shops all over the place.
Yep.
Now, is what? Max G is in the house. Thank you for coming, my gosh. Yeah, Susie Q says, yeah, can believe that. Believe it. Well, anyway, so I don't know how we fix that, but we're not going to fix it. We're not going to fix it because things will change, and if we don't give in to the story, so don't go getting your crack pipe, you know, and stuff like that. There's Mossy Man just pops in. He's probably thinking, what? He's talking about crack pipes? What kind of show is this?
It'll crack you up.
That's right. So back to an ingenious way to live. They had to live somewhere. The Plains Indians' solution to such a fundamental human need as food, shelter, and the social order revealed them as a people of resourcefulness and ingenuity, qualities most visibly proclaimed by their dwellings. The teepee, page 92, was perfectly fitted to the housing requirements of the roving buffalo hunters. The buffalo skin tent was portable, easy erected, waterproof, and owing to a clever wind deflecting device of smoke flaps, well ventilated, even with a fire burning inside. Although the teepee has come to be a symbol of the Plains Indians' life, many tribes spent a great deal of the year when they were not on the move, in permanent structures of earth or grass. But none of the Plains Indians' dwellings could match those of the Pueblos, their southwestern neighbors who resided in terraced apartments buildings where one man's roof was another man's balcony. And so we got the picture, and I'm going to enlarge this so everybody can see. So there we go. Here's the picture of the Indians with their tent and teepees. Oh, I gotta go this way, something like that. It's hard to do the thing with the thing. Anyway, so that's how they've been doing. Big gallery. Okay, and then we got more. And we got this picture. I wish I could run these off a little bit better. And this one says, using their that's the earthen lodges. The earthen lodges as a grandstands, Pawnees watch as tribal ceremony. The multifamily dwellings had a permanent framework of post beams covered over the layers of willow branches, sod, mud, more than 40 feet in diameter. These lodges even provided shelter for prized horses. So see, you know, everybody thinks of an Indian and they think of them living in a teepee, but they lived in lodges. They set up, the Pawnees set up permanent dwellings. Here's another one. Now you could really see that place. Look at that. That one's a big one. This one says, resembling a huge beehive on the Oklahoma prairie, a Wichita dwelling has a framework of heavy poles similar to that in the earthen lodge, but a sheath only with grass thatching suited to the warmer climate of the southern plains. The thatching was tied down by slender wooden rods. And here, the trading center of the Tahoes of New Mexico, a market for horses and foodstuff among the southern plains tribes, Pueblo Indians lived in sprawling apartment complexes constructed of adobe bricks. The individual rooms were small and were added happenstantly wherever more space living was needed. And as you can see, it looks like a city. Looks like a real city, doesn't it?
A pueblo, right?
Yeah, that's the city made up of, clay and mud and bricks. If that's all you got to use, you're going to use it. Oh, let's see. Jump to here. Okay, teepee etiquette. Okay, I'm going to switch back to gallery. Okay, teepee etiquette. Proper behavior among Plains Indians, as in most societies, was governed by extensive, strict, and often subtle rules. The principles below are a sampling of various points of etiquette that Indians knew and heard are heeded when paying a social call at a friend's teepee. It's like going over to your neighbors. If the door is open, a friend may enter the teepee directly. But if it is closed, he should announce his presence and wait for the owner to invite him in to come in. When the male visitor enters the teepee, he goes to the right and waits for the host to invite him to sit in the guest place to the left of the owner at the rear. A woman enters after the man and goes to the left. When invited to feast, guests are expected to bring their own bowls and spoons and to eat all they are given. No visitor should ever walk between the fire and another person, but instead should pass behind the sitter, who is for the part lean forward to make room. Women should never sit across or sit cross-legged like men. They can sit on their heels or with their legs to one side. In a group of men, only the older ones should initiate conversation. The younger men should politely remain silent unless they are invited to speak by the elder. When the host cleans the pipe, everyone should leave. Or when the host cleans his pipe, everyone should leave. So there you go. I mean, So here's a picture of another teepee, the poles, what's inside. You can see that. There you go. Here's a good one that I got. Okay, how an Indian got his name. Yeah, Indians' names were a language unto themselves, laden with descriptive, elusive, or even magical meaning. An Indian baby was named soon after birth, usually by a medicine man or a parental relation, and the entire village participated in the occasion. The infant might be named for an animal, for a physical phenomenon such as a thunder that occurred on that day of the birth, or even for a brave deed that was once had been performed by a giver of the name. A woman generally kept the name she received at birth, but a man often replaced his original name with a new one that celebrated a personal act of valor, recalled an encounter with an unusual animal, or perhaps was inspired by a dream. However, a man who had a handicap or some other distinguishing characteristic was forever known by an opposing nickname, such as Hump or Big Hand, because Indian names almost always were based on something objective. They could easily be rendered as pictographs, frequently with a line connecting visual representations of the name and a human head to significantly or signify the owner. Below are some Sioux signatures. So even though they didn't have, written language, you could, and there you go. There's a, put that up there somehow.
But the Cherokee did have a written language.
Okay, well, the Cherokee did, but I'm just saying.
You're right. Not all tribes, but
Maybe next week I'll find about the languages. Okay, how the teepee was constructed. Hope you guys are all enjoying this because, unless I suppose you're going to build a teepee, you'll definitely want to know these things. Hey, I had a friend who had a teepee and we put it up and, things like that. It was really cool. It was a really cool thing. Let's see how the teepee was constructed. Warm in winter, cool in summer, and sturdy enough to withstand gale force winds. The teepee was remarkably serviceable dwelling, and yet it was so easy to assemble that 2 women could erect it within an hour. Although certain details of design differed from tribe to tribe, the teepee was basically a cover made of dressed buffalo hides that were stitched together with sinew and stretched over a framework of poles. Well, most people could guess that. Most tribes used a tripod, especially strong poles, for the main support. The primary supports were tied together at the top and raised. Then all but one of the remaining poles were leaned against them, tied in place, and in windy weather, anchored to a single peg in the ground within the teepee. The frame was not a true cone, but was tied slightly. This asymmetry served several functions. It provided more headroom for the rear of the dwelling. It permitted better ventilation with an off-center smoke hole. And since teepees almost always faced east, the greater slant of the front side helped brace the structure against the prevailing west winds on the back. When the poles were in place, the folded hide cover was fastened to the stout lifting pole and hoisted into position. It was relatively easy at this point to unfold the cover around the poles, peg the bottom edge down, close the ventricle seam with wooden pins, and attach the door flap. In warm weather, the bottom edge could be raised for ventilation. Finally, 2 lighter poles outside of the teepee were inserted in the pockets of the smoke flaps. By moving these poles, the flaps could be adjusted to compensate for changes in the wind direction, or the flaps could be closed in case of a rain or snow. Now complete, the teepee was ready for the furnishings, usually about 15 feet in diameter at the base. It had ample room for beds, backrests, a stack of firewood, and other articles of equipment, sometimes arranged according to the scheme below center. So there you go. Anyway, I thought that was pretty neat. So now we have the visualization of their house. So there you go. What do you think of that?
Yep. And people just think the teepees aren't really hard to set up. They really aren't, but you can get it wrong really quick.
Yeah.
And
did you ever set one up?
Oh, many times. Yeah. And many of the powwows I went to, I stayed in them over the weekends when I would go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
But there are 2 flaps at the top, and the last 2 poles that you discussed, you aim the top of the teepee where the wind is blowing or not blowing. And let me tell you, if you get it wrong, a gust of wind will take the fire and turn your teepee into a cone of smoke. I mean like that. You go, what? And the next thing you know, you're laying on the ground trying to breathe because the entire teepee is full of smoke. And then another little gust and it'll suck the smoke right out, and it'll be like nothing ever happened. It's strange.
Oh yeah.
You get them 2 little weather vane things up at the top, and when you got a fire in there, boy, howdy, you can mess up quick.
Yeah, well, and then that's the thing I noticed. Like I thought the teepee, as I remember, I'm trying to remember how it was, but I thought it would come all the way down to the ground and be tight with the ground because you wouldn't. But no, it's not. There's always there's a gap there because that lets the air in, like, so the smoke can go out. And I thought, well, how is this? But it's it's got a it's not flush. You know what I mean? There's a
And
flap.
from the outside, you don't know this, but on the inside, there's an inside curtain.
Yeah.
That gets hung up. Mm-hmm. And so you store your stuff in behind that, where the drop comes down and the teepee comes down. So this area in there, you kind of put your stuff in there.
Yeah. So it looks like a room.
Yeah. So when you get done, it looks like a great big round room. So the air that comes in doesn't come across to you. It goes up behind that little curtain but draws the air up. Yep. Mm-hmm. I've been in some that were so comfortable, you would swear, other than being on the ground, it would be so toasty and warm with just a little tiny fire in the middle, and it'd be cold outside.
Yeah, because it's really a small area, but the fire is right in the center, which radiates all over. And then this tent that I helped with the guy and we had was it was just canvas, but but it still was that heavy canvas where the wind doesn't just like blow right through it, so that heat literally stayed inside. It was really neat. It was one of the neatest things. That was my experience with tent. But so that was that. Okay, so now to the share part. I have several things pulled up. Okay. Well, I want to say hi to Regina Hutchelson, who's in the house, who managed to show up. Thank you for coming. I hope I didn't miss anybody else. Deborah Sloan is in the house. Thank you for coming. Everybody's doing pretty good. I hope you're enjoying this. Snow is melting where Susie Q is. It's melting here too. So there you go. Let's start out with this one. Oh, shoot. We gotta enlarge it. And oh, that one's that one. Okay. How fire came to earth. You want to, well, of course, when you got your teepee, you got to have fire, right? Okay, so I'm going to read this. How fire, this kind of goes along with the housing thing, It was in the long ago, Yethel, the raven, was a spirit of good and he was kind, but his uncle, the great gray eagle, was a spirit of evil. The eagle kept in his lodge the sun, moon, stars, fire, and fresh water, and he guarded them. And I'm going to enlarge this because elderberry will give me a hard time. Should not get any part of them. He hated the children of men and wished them evil, but Yethel wished them well, and therefore the great gray eagle hated him. The great gray eagle's daughter, however, did not hate the handsome youth, and when Yethel spoke smooth words to her, she bade him enter her father's lodge. Yethel, remember, you got to get invited in, as we talked about. Yethel looked well with the lodge to see what he could find that the children of men could use. Who are you? He asked a great shining ball, and the ball answered, I am the sun. All day long I can shine and give light and warmth. Why am I shut up in here? Then Yethel saw a smaller ball. He asked, who are you? And a great voice said, I am the moon. And by night I can shed soft radiance over all the world to make it fair and well, nigh bright as day. Yet here I rest in the dark place. And she sighed. Yethel turned some small and twinkling lights and asked them their names, and they answered, we are stars. We are moon's children, flowers of the sky. But great gray eagle keeps us here, although we long to see the bright and beautiful world. Yethel looked once more in the lodge and saw two two other things, and these were fire and water. And he said to himself, all of these things I must have for the use of my friends, the children of men. Then Ethel, the raven, gathered up sun, moon, stars, fire, and water, and bearing them all with him, he flew up out of the smoke hole of the lodge. He flew straight up to the blue. There he hung the sun, where all men might see him. Then he rested for a while in a treetop, and soon came night. Ethel could not see to fly, but he hung the moon in her place and scattered the stars all about the sky, and they made the heavens bright with light, and Ethel flew swiftly through the air. There you go, there he is. Ethel carried the fire stick in his bill. He flew and flew toward his own lodge and carried with him fresh water and burning fire. At length, however, he grew tired of his task. He dropped water upon the earth, and it flowed and flowed into the rivers and lakes and springs. And thereafter, men had plenty of fresh water to drink. Now fire was burning upon a fire stick, and Ethel carried the stick in his bill. The slow flames burned and burned, and the smoke blackened the raven's coat until it was like a coal. The flames became hotter until they burned the stick away and touched Ethel's beak with pain. And Ethel dropped the fire, and it fell to earth, to the rocks and trees. It fell, and there it is to this day. For the children of men make fire by striking together two bits of rock, or by rubbing together two dry sticks. And this is how fire came to the earth by Ethel, the raven, in the time of long ago. Well, there you go. That was
Can I pick on you a minute?
Yeah, go ahead. It's probably
Okay.
I probably said that wrong.
The name is Yelp.
Yelp? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you were saying Yethel. This is
Yethel.
like Yentl.
Oh,
Your brain
Yelp.
was taking that, and you were seeing Yentl and saying Yethel. You were consistent. I got to say that, but
hey, like you told me, hey, if it's wrong, just keep going with it.
I know, but I mean, I was like, you were. It was almost like you were trying to say Yentl.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love you, my brother, but
I'm glad.
I was trying not to snicker out loud. Okay.
Correct me anytime that I'm wrong. Let's see here.
He could have been named. They could have been named anything, but it was just. I kept looking at how did you get that out of here? Anyway, but I love you, my brother. Thank you.
I have some tough times, Anyway,
people have problems with names and stuff. For a long. It still gets me once in a while, but I've had more practice is all. That's it.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to read a bunch of some of these stories out of this book here that I normally read out of. The Wolverine Creates the World. Remember, I read how Wolverine created the world?
Right.
Well, unfortunately, everybody, there's a lot of stories I can't read out of there because they are just kind of bad. So, but I did find one this week, the Giant Skunk, and this made me kind of laugh. It was pretty funny, and you'll get it because everybody hates skunks, right? So
except other skunks.
except other skunks. Here, I gotta plug my.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they do smell,
Yeah, they do.
Oh boy, did you ever get sprayed by a skunk?
Close. I mean, like it was on the shoes,
Oh yeah. I'm gonna turn my light on here. No, I never got sprayed by a skunk, but my dogs did, and then they rubbed on me, and it felt like I was sprayed by the skunk. And I tell you what, having dogs that are sprayed by a skunk is not fun, especially when they come in the house and you go, "Oh my goodness!"
And you can't get away from it. That stank just stays with you.
That stank is stunk.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Let's see.
Stanky stank.
Okay. This is called the Giant Skunk. This is out of the book Wolverine the Trickster. One day a giant skunk came to the camp and sprayed two old women. One of the women said to the other, these are all short, so One of the women said to the other, "That's a mighty powerful fart you got there, sister." "I haven't farted, sister. Your fart is a killer." And soon both women were dead from the smell. Now the skunk moved on where a man was frying bear fat to make oil. The man said to himself, "This fat smells real bad. Phew! I seem to smell bad myself." Before long, he was dead too. Throughout the camp went the skunk, spraying women and children, babies and old people, even dogs. Whoever got sprayed fell dead in his tracks. At last, only the headman and the two sons were left alive. The headman said, "Well, we must get our brother Wolverine to help us. Otherwise, we'll die too." So they visited Wolverine in his den. "I've killed wolves, bears, even human beings themselves," said Wolverine, "so I can easily get rid of a mere skunk." But when Wolverine saw all those dead bodies, he changed his mind. Too late. The giant skunk was already advancing towards him. Suddenly it turned around and aimed its ass at his face. Wolverine clamped down his jaws directly on the skunk's ass and kept them clamped, knowing that if he let go, the skunk would release its fumes and he would die. Now the headman and his sons came out from their hiding place. "Good job, Wolverine, old friend," they said. They began hitting the skunk's head with their clubs. They hit his head again and again until it collapsed on the ground. Wolverine eased his jaws, and just before the skunk died, it sprayed him in the face. "It got me! It got me!" Wolverine cried. He ran down to the sea and jumped in. There he washed himself until he managed to wash off all the smell into the sea. And ever since Wolverine washed there, seawater has smelled bad, tasted bad, and been of no use whatsoever to anyone. So there you go. That was the Wolverine one out of about 15 stories that I could actually read.
Yeah.
Oh man, those were some bad ones, I tell you. I think I got, oh shoot, that's not the button I wanted to hit. I think I got a little bit more on this here. I thought this was kind of interesting. Somehow Ohio seems to be coming up all the time. And so I got a book I was reading on Ohio stuff too. And this was in this one book. It's called, I don't even know what it's called. The Ohio Valley something or other. And it says here, who was the first man of European race to see the waters of the whole Ohio Valley, which really interested me because I thought it was going to be some English dude. It was Ferdinand de Soto, the Endeligito of Cuba, upon whom Emperor Charles V was conferred the title of Marquis of all the lands which he should conquer on his expedition to Florida in 1539. Luis Hernandez de Bendinma, who accompanied his expedition, tells us that after marching about in what are now the states of Florida, Georgia, Alabama for 18 months, explorers found themselves in November of 1540 in the province of Chickasaw or Chickasaw, where they suffered extremely from the cold and where more snow falls than in Spain. According to the map of Carolina, Chickasaws was an Indian village of the Carasee or Coracious River. And if the Indian tribe of the Chickasaws had not moved their inhabitation since De Soto's visit, we must assume that this expeditionary force, I'm spitting out the words, expeditionary force of 1539 were the first Europeans who entered the Valley of Ohio, as they were the first to see the Mississippi. In the same account, we find the river mentioned under the name of Saccawina is the Susquehanna meant. Susquehanna. DeWitt Clinton said in a paper on the Ohio Indians that DeSoto and his army built forts at the mouth of the Muskingum, which was his authority for this statement. In 1568, John Sir Hawkins left England with a squadron of ships on an errand which today might be considered piracy and high-handed robbery. He expected to make himself a rich man by pillaging Spanish settlements in Central America, occurrences which is not necessary to detail here, compelled him to put part of his crew ashore, probably within the limits of the modern Niagara. Some of these sailors made their way across the North American continent to within 50 miles of Cape Breton, where a French fishing vessel picked them up and carried them home to England. Did they enter the Valley of Ohio? We may suppose so. The story of their wanderings is told by Sir Francis Walsingham, one of Her Majesty's Queen Elizabeth's principal secretaries to Sir George Peckham and others of good judgment in 1582. Hardly mentions any locality by perpendicularities of which their route might be traced, except the Crystal Mountain, now Mount Washington in New Hampshire, until they came to Ocala and the Saxahans. Of the few Indian words given in their recital, it is possible to identify one. Ingram, one of the sailors, tell that the Indians called the sun Karucha. The Oganala dictionary of Father Brutus, missionary among the tribe about 1688, gives the Oganala word for sun as Karakua, I guess. The Gari, I am mispronouncing that word. Ingram's Indian word for king may be the same as the Iroquois' Karakaku, great chief, but it is also similar to the Quapas Indians of Arkansas, word Kareth, king. Well, anyway, I'm going to stop there, but I just thought that was really interesting. And with all the different words and they were talking about the sun, because I got this big thing with the sun, you know, the sun god, the king gods, different words for it all. The guys that came, you know, back in, can you imagine being in the Ohio Valley or going up to the Mississippi and seeing it in 1568 or wherever it was here? That was that guy, 1539.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, you know. And then the weird part about it is this Fernando DeSoto. He was in Florida. Now, Florida and Ohio are quite the distance away.
Yep.
I mean, man,
and
let's start marching.
And if you're a Spanish conquistador,
yeah,
carrying all that daggum, you know, armor and stuff, you know, holy criminy.
Yeah, well, and then that's the thing too, is you're on your way, and how do I even want to put this? That's a long ways to walk. I mean, or maybe they had some horses, but still, I'm sure there was a bunch of them walking, and that's just a long way. And there was no roads. It wasn't like, hey guys, let's just get on the road and take 94 or 54 south and then cut off at the next exit and then follow that one up. We got our compass here and it's just telling us this is the way to go. And I got the map out, and I asked that Indian along the way and he pointed this way and he said, how now, brown cow, go this way. I mean, that must have been some tough walking, some tough trails, unexplored, bears, cougars, wild animals everywhere on every corner, man. Whew.
And no toilet paper.
Yes, no toilet paper. I'm sure those guys were plenty used to it. But anyway, so I hope everybody's doing good in the chat. We gained anybody? I don't think so. Max G. I think he was here. Anyway. But what do you got tonight for us?
Well, it's interesting that you brought out a couple of stories about the sun. And my first story starts on page 140.
Okay.
And it's Coyote steals the sun and the moon.
All right. Hang on. I got to get this thing up. There we go. 140, you said?
Yep. I went to the other end of the book from last week.
Ooh, I guess pretty good there. I'm getting there. I'm a little slow. 141, almost there. 140. Coyote steals the sun and the moon. Hey, just like that that other guy did, whatever his name was. And he stole the sun, the moon, and the fire. The Raven guy. He was a raven. He was a raven. And that name I couldn't pronounce.
Yelp.
Yelp. Okay, yeah. So anyway, he stole the sun, the moon, and the stars. And did you notice he called the moon, she was female. So the sun must be male. The moon is female. And the stars are the children of the moon, which makes sense.
Yep.
Wow. So we're learning lots tonight. That's good.
But that's just one particular tribe's take on it.
Oh, I know. But I mean,
saying that for everybody else.
Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying is that it's kind of cool when you read that one story and then you go and you find another story that's, it's going to be kind of, who knows, maybe on the same stretch, but it's similar. Yes, yep. Similar.
So this Zuni story is you were reading about the eagle and the other one, or was it the raven? Well, one of them was
raven. He was a raven.
Okay, so here we go. Coyote steals the sun and moon. Coyote is a bad hunter who never kills anything. Once he watched Eagle hunting rabbits, catching one after another, more rabbits than he could eat. Coyote thought, I'll team up with Eagle so I can have enough meat. Coyote is always up to something. Friend, Coyote said to Eagle, we should hunt together. Two can catch more than one. Why not? Eagle said. And so they began to hunt in partnership. Eagle caught many rabbits, but all Coyote caught was some little bugs. At this time, the world was still dark. The sun and moon had not yet been put up in the sky. Friend, Coyote said to Eagle, no wonder I can't catch anything I can't see. Do you know where we can get some light? You're right, friend. There should be some light, Eagle said. I think there's a little towards the west. Let's try and find it. And so they went looking for the sun and the moon. They came to a big river which Eagle flew over. Coyote swam and swallowed so much water that he almost drowned. He crawled out with his fur full of mud, and Eagle asked, why don't you fly like me? You have wings. I just have hair, Coyote said. I can't fly without feathers. At last they came to a pueblo where the Cachinas happened to be dancing. The people invited Eagle and Coyote to sit down and have something wonderful to eat while they watched the sacred dances. Seeing the power of the Cachinas, Eagle said, I believe these are the people who have light. Coyote, who'd been looking all around, pointed out two boxes, one large and one small, that the people opened whenever they wanted light. To produce a lot of light, they opened the lid of the big box, which contained the sun. For less light, they opened the small box, which held the moon. Coyote nudged Eagle. Friend, did you see that? They have all the light we need in the big box. Let's steal it. You always want to steal and rob. I say we should just borrow it. They won't lend it to us. You might be right, said Eagle. Let's wait till they finish dancing and then steal it. After a while, the Cachinas went home to sleep, and Eagle scooped up the large box and flew off. Coyote ran along trying to keep up, panting, his tongue hanging out. Soon he yelped up to Eagle. "Ho, friend, let me carry the box a little way." "No, no," said Eagle. "You never do anything right." So he flew on, and Coyote ran after him. After a while, Coyote shouted again, "Friend, you're my chief, and it's not right for you to carry the box. People will call me lazy. Let me have it." "No, no, no, you're always messing everything up." And Eagle flew on, and Coyote ran along. So it went for a stretch, and then Coyote started again. "Ho, friend, it isn't right for you to do this. What will people think of you and me?" "I don't care what people think. I'm going to carry this box." Again, Eagle flew on, and again, Eagle ran after him. Finally, Coyote begged for the fourth time. "Let me carry it. You're the chief, and I'm just Coyote. Let me carry it." Eagle couldn't stand any more pestering. Also, Coyote had asked him 4 times, and if someone asks 4 times, you better give him what he wants. Eagle said, "Since you won't let up on me, go ahead and carry the box for a while, but promise not to open it." "Oh, sure. Oh, yes, I promise." They went on as before, but now Coyote had the box. Soon Eagle was far ahead, and Coyote lagged behind a hill where Eagle couldn't see him. "I wonder what the light looks like inside there," he said to himself. "Why shouldn't I take a peek? Probably there's something extra in the box, something good that Eagle wants to keep to himself." And Coyote opened the lid. Now, not only was the sun inside, but the moon also. Eagle had put them both together, thinking that it would be easier to carry one box than 2. As soon as Coyote opened the lid, the moon escaped, flying high into the sky. At once, all the plants shriveled up and turned brown. Just as quickly, all the leaves fell off the trees, and it was winter. Trying to catch the moon and put it back in the box, Coyote ran in pursuit as it skipped away from him. Meanwhile, the sun flew out and rose into the sky. It drifted far away, and the peaches, squashes, and melons shriveled up with cold. Eagle turned and flew back to see what had delayed Coyote. "You fool! Look what you've done," he said. "You let the sun and the moon escape, and now it's cold." Indeed, it began to snow, and Coyote shivered. "Now your teeth are chattering," said Eagle, "and it's your fault that cold has come into the world. It's true. If it weren't for Coyote's curiosity and mischief making, we wouldn't have winter. We could enjoy summer all the time." Based on a story reported by Ruth Benedict in 1935.
Nice. See, and that was see that was a little bit different, where they left out the fire and the water. But
Yeah.
still, what makes me curious is if the plants were growing before the sun, you know what I mean? How did the plants grow without the sun?
And why was it warm, and why did the sun make it cold?
Yeah. Or why the moon made it cold, and then the sun made everything shrivel up too. And so it's like, so the moon and the sun are kind of working against us. I don't know. Good question.
Some of these stories are like, what? The story contradicts itself.
It does, but it brings up an interesting question. Did they know something that was before the sun and before the moon? Was there things before the sun and the moon? That's the good question. So anyway, what's the next one? So I can turn the page. But yeah, there's all kind of, sorry. Been a long day. I had to work hard today.
Yep. We're going to back up until 136.
Okay. 36. How's everybody doing out there? Guys,
Walks all over the sky.
I know, I'm at 127. I gotta go a little bit farther. Ah, here we go. Walks all over the sky. Absolutely. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And just like that, we're right on the money. Walks all over the sky. Now say that name, Timishon. Blech. I just don't have the
Tissim. It's a TS kind of together. Tissim.
Yeah.
It's almost like Tim, but
Tissim.
The
Simshin.
Simshin.
The Shimishan. Yeah. The Shimshan. Okay. I am not the tongue twister guy.
Yeah, there's some tongue twisters in here. So here we go. Walks all over the sky. In the beginning, before anything that lives in our world was created, there was only the chief in the sky. The chief had 2 sons and a daughter, and his people were numerous. But there was no light in the sky, only emptiness and darkness. The chief's eldest son was named Walking About Early. The second son was called The One Who Walks All Over the Sky, and the daughter was Support of Sun. They were all very strong, but the younger boy was wiser and abler than the elder. It made the younger son sad to see the sky always so dark, and one day he took his brother and went out to cut some pitchwood. They bent a slender cedar twig into a ring the size of a person's face, then tied the pitchwood all around it so that it looked like a mask. They lit the wood, and the one who walks all over the sky put on the mask and went to the east. Suddenly, everyone saw a great light rising. As the people watched and marveled, the chief's younger son ran from east to west, moving swiftly so that the flaming mask would not burn him. Every day, the second son repeated his race and lit up the sky. Then the whole tribe assembled and sat down to a council. "We're glad your child has given us light," they told the chief, "but he's too quick. He ought to slow down a little so we can enjoy the light longer." The chief told his son what the people had said, but Walks All Over the Sky replied that the mask would burn up before he reached the west. He continued to run very fast, and the people continued to wish that he would go slower, until the sister said, "I'll try," and hold him back a little. The next time Walks All Over the Sky rose in the east and started on his journey, Support of Sun also started from the south. "Wait for me," she cried, running as hard as she could. She intercepted her brother in the middle of his race and held him briefly until he could break free. That's why the sun today always stops for a little while in the middle of the sky. The people shouted for joy, and Support of Sun's father blessed her. But the chief was just pleased with Walking About Early because he was not as smart and capable as his younger brother. The father expressed his disappointment, and Walking About Early was so mortified that he flung himself down and cried. Meanwhile, his brother, the son, came back tired from his daily trip and lay down to rest. Later, when everybody was asleep, Walking About Early rubbed fat and charcoal over his face. He woke his little slave and said, "When you see me rising in the east, jump up and shout, 'Hooray, he is risen.'" Then Walking About Early left, while Walks All Over the Sky slept deeply. His face shedding light out of the smoke hole. Suddenly, walking about early, rose in the east, and his charcoal face reflected the smoke hole's luster. The little slave jumped up and shouted, "Hooray, he is risen." Several people asked him, "Why are you so noisy, bad slave?" The slave jumped up and down, pointing to the east. People looked up and saw the rising moon, and they too shouted, "Hooray!" Time passed, and animals were created to live in our world below. At last, all the animals assembled to hold a council. They agreed the sun should run from east to west, that he should be the light of the day, and that he should make everything grow. The moon, they decided, should walk at night. Then they had to set the number of days that would be a month. The dogs were wiser than the other animals and spoke first. "The moon shall rise for 40 days, they said. All the animals were silent. The dogs sat together talking secretly amongst themselves and thinking about what they had said. The wisest dog, their spokesman, was still standing. He was counting up to 40 on his fingers when the porcupine suddenly struck him on the thumb. "Who can live if there are 40 days to each month?" the porcupine said. "The year would be far too long. There should be only 30 days in a month." The rest of the animals agreed with the porcupine. And as a result of this council, each month has 30 days, and there are 12 months in a year. By now, the animals were disgusted with the dogs and banded together to drive them away. For this reason, dogs hate all the creatures of the woods, and most of all, the porcupine, who struck the wise dog's thumb with his spiny tail and humiliated him in council. And because of the porcupine's blow, a dog's thumb now stands opposite to his other fingers. Before that, long ago, the council ended. The animals also named the following months. Between October and November, falling leaf month. Between November and December, taboo month. Between December and January, the intervening month. Between January and February, spring salmon month. Between February and March, month when olachen is eaten. Between March and April, when olachen is cooked. Between May and June, egg month. Between June and July, salmon month. Between July and August, humpback salmon month. Between September and October, spinning top month. In addition, the animals divided the year into 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. New things were also happening in the sky. When Walks All Over the Sky was asleep, the sparks that flew out of his mouth became the stars. And sometimes, when he was glad, he painted his face with his sister's red ochre. And then people knew what kind of weather was coming. If his red paint colored the sky in the evening, there would be good weather the next day. But a red sky in the morning meant that storms were coming. And that's still true today, people say. After the sky has been furnished with the sun, the moon, and the stars, the chief's daughter, supportive son, was cast down because she had played such a small part in the creation. Sadly, she wandered westward into the water, and her clothes became wet. When she returned, she stood near her father's great fire to warm herself. She wrung the water out of her garments and let it drip onto the flames, making a great cloud of steam that floated out of the house. It settled over the land and moderated the hot weather with damp fog. Her father blessed her, for the whole tribe enjoyed it. And to this day, all fog comes from the west. The chief was glad when he saw all 3 of his children were wise. Now it was the duty of the moon, walking about early, to rise and set every 30 days so that people may know the year. The sun walks all over the sky, was charged with creating all good things such as fruit and making everything plentiful. And the chief's daughter, support of sun, served by refreshing the hot earth with cool fog, based on a version recorded by Franz Boas in 1916. Some Northwest tribes did indeed have slaves, as this story suggests. The status could be inherited from one generation to the next, and they were looked upon as their owner's possessions, to be killed if the owner wished. Since the Tsamashees lived in the Northwest, the fog that came from the West refers naturally to the weather rolling in from the Pacific Ocean.
Huh. Well, how about that?
But see, so that's a Northwest coast story, whereas the Cheyenne and everybody else, they, you know, their conditions are much different because of their climate.
Yes, yes, very much so. Yeah, and isn't it something how a little bit of, you know, I mean, from the east to the west coast, the Indians were definitely different in their customs. I mean, I think we read about them in one of our first things where they actually had mustaches and beards, kind of like. And,
yeah, some of them, yeah.
Yeah, and they did talk about, I think we did talk about them having slaves. And I thought, wow, you know, who would ever thought the Indians would have slaves, you know, but I guess they did.
Well, and basically, you know, if one tribe conquered another, then any extra people, women, children, whatever, you know, there were some bloodthirsty tribes that slaughtered them all, but they found it easier to make them be slaves and do all the really, really hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes if one tribe needed more folks, they'd go raid another tribe just to get more people. They need more slaves, you know, somebody to go out and work the field.
Yeah, it's always some reason for things.
And later on, and it depended on the tribe, if there were, you know, leftovers from the other tribe from a battle or whatever, they were just absorbed into the tribe versus slaves. But they all had a breaking in period, like if you were going to try to run or whatever. But if you stayed and became a part of the tribe, then they would make you part of the tribe. If not, you know, wore a leather thong around your neck and you were a slave.
Okay, where are we going next?
Forward till page to page 154, and this will be the last one. It's a short story.
Okay. Yes.
Another sun story.
A lot of sun stories today, huh?
And it's Cherokee. Okay, so we've come out of the Northwest now in this one, and you know, I can't remember where the story came from that you told, but grandmother spider steals the sun.
Okay. Would you say what 154, right?
Yep.
Okay. 554. All right, hang on. There we go. I'm on it.
All right, here we go. Grandmother spider steals the sun. Cherokee. In the beginning, there was only blackness, and nobody could see anything. People kept bumping into each other and groping blindly. They said, "What this world needs is light." Fox said he knew some people on the other side of the world who had plenty of light, but they were too greedy to share it with others. Possum said that he would be glad to steal a little bit of it. I have a bushy tail, he said. I can hide the light inside all that fur. Then he set out for the other side of the world. There he found the sun hanging in a tree and lighting everything up. He sneaked over to the sun, picked out a tiny piece of light and stuffed it into his tail. But the light was hot and burning all the fur off. The people discovered his theft and took back the light, and ever since, Possum's tail has been bald. Let me try, said Buzzard. I know better than to hide a piece of stolen light in my tail. I'll put it on my head. He flew to the other side of the world and, diving straight into the sun, seized it with his claws. He put it on his head, but it burned his head feathers off. The people grabbed the sun away from him, and ever since that time, Buzzard's head has remained bald. Then Grandmother Spider said, let me try. First, she made a thick-walled pot out of clay. Next, she spun a web, reaching all the way to the other side of the world. She was so small that none of the people there noticed her coming. Quickly, Grandmother Spider snatched up the sun, put it in the bowl of clay, and scrambled back home along one of those strands of her web. Now her side of the world had light, and everyone rejoiced. Spider-Woman brought not only the sun to the Cherokee, but fire with it. And besides that, she taught the Cherokee people the art of pottery making. From a tale reported by James Mooney in the 1890s. So they kind of sort of killed two birds with one stone.
That they did.
You know, there was light and brought fire.
Yeah.
Which in the other one was, you know, there was light and the fire also, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Nina's in the house and she's like, something about their spouses are called jokes. I was gonna say, yeah, if you were around the last time, they were talking about how we were talking about horses, Nina, and they said, yeah, well, we love our horses, and when bad weather comes or we don't want them to get stolen, we kick the women out of the house and we put the horses in there, and the women sleep outside of the tent.
yeah.
I was like, not a good time in the world to be a woman. So anyway, let's see, we got our we got people doing their thing. Our moderators are doing their thing. Thanks, David Castle. You're doing a good job. And shout out to him. Thank you. Mary Wins is in the house. Thank you for coming. She's puff passing. And you know what time it is?
Card time.
Ah, yes. I knew it.
I had them right here.
Okay, I
had already picked them out after the last story. I had them sitting over here, so I was waiting on you, brother.
I knew. I was like, I know what time it is, and you got awful quiet. And I thought, oh, does he remember? Yeah, no, it's card time. It's card time. We're doing pretty good on time tonight too, so I'm all set. Chloe's in the house finally, and Emperor Rex, thank you for coming. Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, Chloe's at work. She's listening. I want to say hi to Chloe. Chloe, good job being at work. I know it's late and you got to do your job, but we're going to make a big shout out to you.
Hey, Chloe. Shout.
Yeah. Much favor.
Come on, everybody, shout. Come on.
Yeah. Project Skyfalls is in the house. Yeah. So anyway, we're having a good night. I think we learned a lot. There was a lot of sun and moon and stars stuff, and I love the teepee thing because it's just amazing. I thought they all lived in teepees, but when I was a kid, but now that I'm older now, I'm like, hey, there's they lived in huts and houses in different climates, like the Eastern Indians, they lived in more of a hut kind of house, and because they didn't travel, they just stayed in one spot mostly. And yet the Plains Indians, they travel around, so they had teepees. Of course, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, here's a less than 2 miles from me is a section of road, but it's called the Thigpen Trail. And it was a trading route all the way up through the Smoky Mountains and Cherokee, all the way up into Vermont or New Hampshire somewhere. And it went all the way down to the coast. And this trade route goes way, way back. Now, of course, they named it for some, some guy, some general, because he found it when the Native Americans that have been using it literally for 1,000 years. Okay. And from the Cherokee Mountains, they would come south. Not everybody would come. So they would send, quote, hunting parties, but they'd come all the way down Thigpen Trail, all the way down to the ocean in the wintertime, where they would fish for snapper and this, and, that run in the wintertime. Yeah. And so they dry the fish and then they'd pack it back. And so this idea that, the tribe might have been stationary, but there were warriors and hunters and folks that traveled thousands of miles.
Yeah, as we've been reading about where these guys went on last week they went on an expedition to do some cooping, and they went 1,500 miles. I'm like, just to steal a few horses and a couple mules, and I'm thinking, holy cow, 1,500 miles on horseback. I don't know if you guys haven't had horses. 1,500 miles is many days of riding. That's a lot of freaking riding. That's many. I mean, just driving in your car and you got to go 500 miles. You're talking, half a day or more than a half a day of driving. Geez,
Right. Well, and here's the thing too, is like Thigpen Trail was established before there were horses.
Yeah. And especially the ones out east didn't have horses as readily available as the plains. Neither.
Yeah, they just didn't need them as much.
Well, yeah, because they're but as the thing goes, is that it was more in the horses flourished there, and they were by the Spanish, and they did have horses, but like you said, they didn't need them for a whole lot of things. Even like the Pueblos out there, they said they called them a big dog, and they didn't have any use for them because they lived in their permanent city thing, and all they could do with them is haul some firewood or something. They didn't know what to do with their horses.
Well, the reason that the horse wasn't as necessary in the East is because all the rivers, all the river boats, and all the the traveling that they did on rivers around here. I mean, any river that was around here, they transported something on it. But out west, you got the great big expanses where the horse was necessary. Yes. Absolutely necessary,
Well, yeah. Well, and what last week they said basically the plains were uninhabited because there was nothing out there for them. You couldn't walk it, so there was nobody out there. They were just big and empty. Nobody went there. Yeah, we called them big dogs, she says. Yeah, that was in last week's show. Nina, they call them big dogs. That's for sure.
Isn't it interesting how over the different months, can you still hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I hit something by accident. But anyway, one of the things that is interesting is that over the many weeks that and stories that we've done and talked about these things, you start see patterns emerge.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like before it was just a story, and now after all this time, you know, there are these patterns that are emerging, you know, from when the horse got here to, you know.
Yep. That's for sure. Oh, we got Isby in the house. Hey, Isby, I got to get a hold of you. I'll give you a holler later on. We're gonna get together and do something too. So maybe this week. I don't know when, but we will. So anyway, yeah. Lucky. I seen Lucky Smith in the house. He was in here earlier. I hope he's still listening. Because I was reading something about Massachusetts with these balancing rocks, and I don't know anybody out that way, but if anybody'd been out to Massachusetts and seen the balancing rocks, let me know. I thought that was a good thing, but I can't really find much on it. So anyway, okay, what do you got for a card?
I don't know which is supposed to go first. I got two of them.
All right.
One is buffalo and the other is porcupine.
Buffalo. We haven't had buffalo in a while.
Right.
Or a long time.
So I'm going to start off with buffalo and porcupine. Porcupine is innocence, and buffalo is prayer and abundance. That's always a good thing. Prayer.
Yes.
Buffalo, you bring us the gifts of life. Hear our prayers, smoke rising like a phoenix. We are reborn within the sacred words. In a Lakota tradition, it was the white buffalo calf woman who brought the sacred pipe to the people and taught them to pray. The bowl of pipe was the receptacle that held tobacco and herb with male and female medicine. The stem of the pipe represented the male entering the female and seeding of life. In the coming together of male and female, the connection to the divine energy of the Great Spirit was made. As the pipe was loaded with tobacco, every family in nature was asked to enter into the pipe and share its medicine as prayers and praise to the heavens. The smoke was considered to be a visual prayer and was very sacred and cleansing. All animals are sacred, but in many traditions, white buffalo is the most sacred. The appearance of white buffalo is a sign that prayers are being heard, that the sacred pipe is being honored, and that the promise of prophecy are being fulfilled. White buffalo signals a time of abundance and plenty. Buffalo was a major source of sustenance for the Plains Indians. It gave meat for food, hides for clothing, warm and soft buffalo robes for long winters, and hooves for glue. The medicine of buffalo is prayer, gratitude, and praise for that which has been received. They want me to read that again. The medicine of buffalo is prayer, gratitude, and praise for that which has been received. So many times a lot of us say that, well, you know, if I only had a little more, but they don't give thanks for what they have. And then when that gets taken away, then they really, but anyway.
And that's the thing is, you know what you have, even if it's something small. I got a pen. I am thankful for this pen.
Yep.
And if I'm thankful for this pen, you know, then I can have 2 pens. Yeah. I'm thankful for both those pens, and I take care. And then I think there's another part of it. Being thankful for something is taking care of it, because, you know, I have had friends that have stuff and they're, oh, I got the best fishing pole ever, and they're bragging and bragging. Oh yeah, my fishing pole's the best ever. And they go fishing with it, and then they leave their pole sitting on the side of the house with the tackle box for a good year, and then the fishing pole is junk. And it's like, so they had it, they were proud of it, they wanted to show it off, but they didn't give thanks for it, and then they didn't take care of it to show it thanks, because you can't just, yeah, it's the best, look at what I got, and then just, you're not giving thanks to it. And I think that goes for a little bit about everything. People, things, food, the food you eat, because your food is what you consume, just like water. I've been reading Melchizedek. Have you ever heard of Melchizedek?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was talking about there, he called us mineral men, and what is a mineral? I've been thinking about that all week. Mineral men. And I'm like, yeah, well, other than water, we're just minerals.
Yep.
We and everything around us is exactly that too. I mean, if you burn wood, which you do, what do you do with the ashes?
Put them in the garden.
That's right. Good answer. You put them in the garden. Why? Because you've gotten rid of all the water and they've become minerals, and you're returning that to the soil. And then the next generation of plants use those minerals to grow again. And I mean, I started thinking about it. It's like, this really makes sense. Mineral men, so we're just water and minerals put together in some gooey scheme of things. And once you put I can imagine but anyway, go on. Next, Porcupine.
Wait, I wasn't finished with this.
Oh, you aren't? Oh, okay. Sorry, I interrupted.
The medicine of buffalo is prayer, gratitude, and praise for that which has been received. Buffalo medicine is also knowing that abundance is present when all relations are honored as sacred. Now, all relations are plants, vegetables, rocks, minerals, you, me, everything. When all relations are honored as sacred, and when gratitude is expressed to every living thing of creation.
Wasn't that what I just said? I was saying you got to give thanks to everything, everybody, everything, the food you eat, the stuff you have, you can't just forget one, because they're all a part of everything, everything is one.
Right.
And so, you can't just skip something.
All right. Because of the desire to give the gifts that its body provided, the buffalo, and because of its willingness to be used on earth for the highest good before entering the hunting grounds of spirit, buffalo did not readily stampede and run from hunters. To use buffalo medicine is to smoke the pipe in a sacred manner, and to give praise for the richness of life to be shared with all races, all creatures, all nations, and all life. It means smoking for others so that their needs are met, praying for the good of all things in harmony, and accepting the great mystery as part of that harmony. If you've drawn the buffalo card, you may be asked to use your energy in prayer. You may also be called upon to be an instrument of someone else's answer to a prayer. Inadvertently, somebody says, hey, a friend of mine needs a prayer. Maybe your prayer is the next one that cures them. Who knows? Mm-hmm. This could portend a time of recognizing the sacredness of every walk of life. The sacredness of every walk of life. Not just humans, but all humans, but of everything, right? This, to honor another's pathway, even if it brings you sadness, is a part of the message of Buffalo brings. This may be a time of reconnection to the meaning of life and the value of peace. Boy, that's a kicker in the head, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
This may be a time of reconnection to the meaning of life and the value of peace. Most assuredly, this time will bring serenity amidst chaos. If you pray in earnest for enlightenment and the power of calmness, and give praise for the gifts you already have. Buffalo medicine is a sign that you have achieved nothing without the aid of the Great Spirit, and that you must be humble enough to ask for that assistance and then be grateful for what you receive. That's just like, that's really hitting me heavy. But anyway, but now the card was upside down, but I think this part of the, I'm good for the buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
To receive buffalo upside down is a signal that you have forgotten to seek help when it is needed. If your hand is closed in a fist, you cannot receive the bounty of abundance. In understanding the significance of the reverse buffalo, you may well ask yourself, have I forgotten my eternal partner, the Great Spirit? Doesn't mean you got to go worshiping God and all that, but are you just thankful to the Creator? Am I pushing myself too fast in a physical world and keeping myself from seeing the importance of reunion with the source of all life? People are so busybody all the time, they're not slowing down to see the importance of the source of all life. Have I forgotten to honor the ways of others and to afford them the same respect that I wish to receive for myself? Some folks get really catty or whatever, and it's like, well, I'm really good and thank you and all, but they don't give other people any credit. Have I forgotten to be grateful for my life, for my possessions? Am I grateful for my talents, my abilities, my health, my family, or my friends? Have I forgotten to be grateful? Remember that. 6, is it a time to make peace with one another or to make peace with some inner conflict? So that I may walk in balance together. Become buffalo, feel the smoke of prayer and praise change your buffalo robe to white so that you may be an answer to the prayers of the world. Now, that's a heavy duty message this week, ain't it there? Now, Porcupine, which is the card I drew first.
Oh, yeah.
But they made me shuffle the cards again and come up with buffalo, and I'm glad. Porcupine is number 12 in the book, and it's innocence. Now, my family emblem, the Null family, is supposed to be a porcupine. I'm not really sure, but supposedly. Porcupine, remind me again, once again, of innocence again. With every man a brother, each woman a friend. The south of the medicine wheel is a place of childlike innocence and humility. It is the home of playfulness and the position of Porcupine on the medicine wheel of life. Porcupine has many special qualities and a very powerful medicine. The power of faith and trust. The power of faith contains within it the ability to move mountains. The power of trust in life involves trusting that the Great Spirit has a divine plan. Your task is to find the pathway that is most beneficial for you and that uses your greatest talents to further that plan. Trust can open doorways to the creation of space. That's an interesting statement.
Yes.
The space thus created allows others to open their hearts to you and to share their gifts of love, joy, and companionship. If you were to observe Porcupine, you would immediately notice its quills. These quills are only used when trust has been broken between Porcupine and another creature. Much like otter, Porcupine is a gentle, loving creature and non-aggressive. When fear is not present it is possible to feed a porcupine by hand and never get stuck by its quills. Through understanding the basic nature of this animal, you may come to understand your own need for trust and faith, and for becoming like a child again. In today's society, this is a needed reminder to honor the wonder of life and the appreciation of each new day as an adventure of discovery. In choosing the porcupine card, you have given yourself a gentle reminder not to get caught in the chaos of the adult world, where fear, greed, and suffering are commonplace. The medicine in this card is that of relief from seriousness and severity. Open your heart to those things that give you joy as a child. Remember the preciousness of fantasy and imagination and the making of some game or a toy from nothing but scraps. Honor the playfulness of spirit that lets everyone win and have fun.
Nice. You know, and see, that's the thing. Some of that, like the porcupine. Did you ever catch a porcupine?
No, we don't have them down here.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay. Well, when I lived in Wisconsin, we had porcupines, and man, I remember when I was a little kid, there was no porcupines, and then as I grew up, there started to be porcupines, and eventually there was a lot of porcupines, and you could see them get hit on the road all the time. And when I used to ride horses a lot out and back, my grandma's farm and stuff, man, we rode for miles and miles, and all of a sudden, you know, I ran across a couple of porcupines, some small ones, and it was so cool. You know, they were just balls of quills, you know, but they would run out in the field, and then they would climb a little. I remember the one, I wish I had cameras for all that back in the day. And the one climbed the tree, and he literally just climbed this little tree. It was only about 6 foot tall, and he stood in this tree, and he's just like, there he was. He didn't want to run anymore. And, you know, but we couldn't, I didn't want to pet him, you know, or nothing, but, you know, I mean, couldn't catch him because I didn't want to get stuck with quills, because, you know, as soon as you come up to him, his quills would move, you know?
Yeah.
But my dogs, you know, they got stuck with quills. About that time, you know, there were so many porcupines that the dogs would go out and they'd start barking. And next thing you know, they come in and their face was just full of them. They even got some of the horses that had quills in them. And I got pretty good at picking the quills out, because the short story is this: the first time the 3 dogs I had got stuck with quills, I had to take them to the vet to have the quills pulled out, right? Which cost $150, which was a lot of freaking money. And so after that, I did a little research, because there was no internet at that time. And I did a little research. I'm telling you my age now. And I found out that if you cut the quill, because they're like little, their little barb is like a piece of hydraulics. If you cut the quill, the little barb goes down and you can pull that quill out. So that's what I did. I'd cut the quill and then pull the barb out. Oh my God, some of them dogs, they had quills through their lip, and then through their tongue. They're talking like this with their tongue, you know, and through their nose. And oh my, I tell you, I had never seen something so bad in my life. But quills, picking quills out of a dog, and of course the dog don't want you to pick the quills out. It's crazy, but that's the thing. And they hurt, because after I got them all picked out, a few of them fell on the floor, and then I stepped on them, and I had to pick them out of my own foot. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, the porcupine thing, they don't have them in Florida growing up, but we have armadillos, and, you know, down here, too many.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that, you know, when I learned, I don't know, back before the internet, that Porcupine was supposed to be the Null coat of arms. And I thought, well, you know, how appropriate in that, you know, we won't go looking for a fight, but don't mess with us. You know, I mean, you know, we look docile and everything, but don't mess with us. You know, you can come on in, we can sit down, but if you want to attack, don't mess with us. Just, you know, ain't boasting, just saying.
Yeah, if you wanted, if you were a creator or something, you imagine you could mate a porcupine with an armadillo, and you'd have a shell as hard as a rock with quills on it. Man, that'd be quite the critter to deal with.
Well, a porcupine is quite to deal with anyway.
Oh yeah.
Well, since we're talking about, let me tell a quick little story that I did. I created a porcupine puppet back in the day, but the story was that Porcupine, when he was created, you know, that he was just skin. He didn't have any fur, no feathers, no, you know.
Yep.
And so he's running around one day, and you know, the mountain lion is like, "Woo, porcupine! I want to eat some porcupine." You know, porcupine on a stick, barbecue porcupine. You know, fried, boiled, baked. You know, porcupine. Okay, so Porcupine's like, "Holy crap! What did I do to deserve this?" So he goes down to the riverbank, and he's praying, and, you know, great spirit, you made me, and I'm so grateful, but, you know, birds had feathers and they can fly away. You know, cats have, you know, talons, and, you know, their deer are swift and can jump and run, but I can't do anything. You just left me down here. Oh, I don't even have any fur, you know? And so he was so naked that he would cover himself with a blanket. And that was how he would hide. He would curl down. But anyway, so Creator said, you know, little porcupine, I'm so sorry. I just made you an innocent, docile creature. And I hadn't thought about that somebody might want to eat you, you know? So he said, okay, since you're down here at the river, I want you to go over to the riverbank, and I want you to roll around in the mud. And Porcupine was like, what? Go over and roll around in the mud. So he did. He was like, anything, right? So I don't know what he's up to, but I'm roll around here in the mud. And then Creator said, okay, come up here to the bank. And he went over. The Creator reached down with his hands and picked brambles from the bramble bush. He put, you know, pulled stickers and thorns from the thorn bush and placed them in the mud before it dried on his back. And so now he said, well, there you go, Porcupine. That'll give you some protection. And he was like, I don't know how this is going to work here. You put brambles and stickers on my back, and you go, you know. So he said, go ahead. I'm going to keep an eye on you, little Porcupine. And he heads on home. Well, Mountain Lion's just waiting on him. Ooh, Porcupine, going to get me some Porcupine. And so looks down at the Porcupine and goes over to get a mouthful. And when it comes back, he's got stickers and thorns in his mouth. And he's like, what's going on here? And little Porcupine's just trembling. He goes, please don't eat me. And I'm going to have me some more. And reaches over there and get another bite and more thorns. And finally, Porcupine, after the third try with the mountain lion who ran away squalling, he looked up and he said, thank you, Creator, for something so simple. And it was like, glad it worked out, you know? So to this day, Porcupine have quills. So, but how simple of a story that one was. And it's a fun one to tell, you know. Audience loves that story.
I like it too. It's pretty comical. Pretty
comical.
And
you see by puppets and everything, there's chases in the whole 9 yards. But anyway, so but with that said,
yeah. So I got a question for you. How's the medicine wheel thing coming? I see you got 2 episodes done with the medicine wheel.
Well, yeah, kind of, sort of. And then I did one last night about spirit medicine. Yeah. Because if you don't understand spirit medicine, then the medicine wheels is just going to be a circle of rocks, you know?
Yeah, this is true.
So there's a lot to, it's not just building the wheel, but for every point on the wheel, there is a prayer, there's a color, there's a plant, there are things associated with the north or the south or the east or the west.
Mhm.
So it's not, the wheel is about honoring all things with Mother Earth.
Mhm.
And when you complete it, the idea is that it now becomes an energy. I hate to use the word vortex, but an energy field.
Mhm.
And within it, if all things are sacred and you treat the wheel as sacred, then potentially you can have this beautiful blue light shooting up into the sky kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As an imagination, but that it reconnects, it really connects you with the earth. You know, medicine wheels are like, whoa, it's now, since you asked me, you could build a medicine wheel and never really, quote, use it, because the position of the stones and everything, especially if you pick this spot, will still honor Mother Earth. But if you're going to build the medicine wheel to travel the wheel and to go to each of the rocks, pray, give thanks, whatever it is, and use the wheel to its fullest potential, to your fullest potential, then that is a spirit journey is really kind of indescribable, because for every person, it's personal, but it'll light your head up. It'll light your head up. Let me tell you. There are people who, you know, oh, I want to be so aware. I want to open my third eye. And let me tell you, if you really get a really good hard dose of stuff, you'll be sitting around with your tongue hanging out going, you know, trying to figure it all out. So, you know, it's better to have it in small doses.
Yeah.
Medicine wheel, if done properly, then can give you small doses of the universe. When you travel the wheel, travel the stones, follow the colors and the, you know, and positions, and yeah.
I like it. Well, keep up the good work. And we're doing this turned out from a short show to a long show. But anyway, it's been fun. Thank you for coming on again. We will have to do 18 next time. My gosh. So thank you everybody else that came to watch and visit and everything like that, because without you, this wouldn't be possible. And thanks, David Null, for finding those great stories. And I hope everybody enjoyed a little bit of the history and stuff that I brought to the plate. And well, another week has gone by, and we'll see you next week. And I'll see you guys on Saturday too. Saturday, I don't know who's going to be on for a guest yet, because I'm working on it. But if something else comes up sooner, I'm going to get a hold of Isby, and I want to do a show about the Giant stuff. We got some books, and we're going to do some things. And so, Isby, I'm going to be getting a hold of you. And for everybody else, remember, be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all.